Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to set up my January prompt for one little word. Ironically, my word this year is clear, and it really has taken me until now to sort of work out what it is that I want to do this year for this project. I was unsure about whether I was going to join the 2021 class from Ellie Edwards. With the exchange rates and that sort of thing, it was a little bit more money than I really wanted to spend, and I have taken this class several times before, so I could have gone back and done an old one. In the end, however, I did join the class because when I thought about it, I thought the new instructors and some new prompts might be kind of nice to break away from the sort of rut of doing this project the same way each year. And I do really respond to having a class structure, so I don't know how successful I would be on my own, just having my own kind of monthly go at this. So I did join the class just last week. And I've really only sat down today to sort of work through the January prompt. So I'm just going to put my album together and share a few little tips and tricks for things that I've done. I am working in a Life Crafted album again. This is a gorgeous yellow, I think it's called Sunshine, which is exactly what I need. A little bit of sunshine for 2021. What I've already gone ahead and done is I have printed a selfie, and I have made a clear kind of transparency sheet to go on top of that photo. So I'll just walk you through the process of that. I just used my silhouette, and I will link the video up here. There was a tutorial last year if you want to make your own kind of word art for this sort of page. I went a little bit different this year and just used some white vinyl. So I just typed out my word, and I did add a little quote as well. So instead of doing a 3x4 card with a quote, I've added it onto my transparency here. I just typed that out in Silhouette Studio and then cut that from white vinyl. After spending a significant amount of time weeding out the vinyl that isn't part of this, I ended up with my transfer sheet, which I just stuck down onto my acetate. It's a really simple process and a really easy way for getting like a white on transparent look. So that's where I'm at, that's where I'm up to. All I need to do is hole punch this to go into my album, but I want to back my photo first because it's got my kind of Canon photo paper on there. So I am going to do that. I did pick out a couple of pattern papers from my stash. One of my kind of intentions this year with the word clear is to clear my space, so clear out some of my stash, either by destashing, sort of purging, but also by using. So enough with this hoarding of pretty things, time to start using them. And so the other thing I've gone ahead and done is done all of my writing. So this year I just hand wrote it. You know, I'm no fan of my handwriting. That hasn't changed, but I wanted to get this done. I didn't want to let perfection get in the way of just getting this prompt finished. So I went ahead and I printed some of the 3x4 cards. I'm only going to use 4 of the 12 that were available with the class kit. That's not true. I used another one. I just altered the size of it, and I altered the 6x8s to fit a traveler's notebook size to go into my Life Crafted album. I'm just going to quickly show you how I did that while I go ahead and put these into the page protectors. So I'm just about to print out all of my journaling cards, and I just want to quickly show you how I'm going to resize these 6x8 pages to fit. They're going to fit in my Life Crafted page protectors, but it would also fit a traveler's notebook. So it's going to end up being sort of 4¼ by 8¼ inches. So this is 6x8. Far too big. I'm going to use my crop tool, and I want to crop the width to be 4.25. And I'm going to ignore the height for now. So I'm just going to hit return. I'm going to drag this out to be the full size of the page and then hit return. So now my page is, if I go to if I go to my information, my image size here, it's now 4 1/4 by 5.667, so it's not quite the right height. So what I want to do is change the canvas size. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that my palette colors here are black and white, with white being the background. And then I'm going to go to image and canvas size. I want to make sure that it's going from the top to the bottom, so I'm going to make sure my arrows are pointing down, and then I want to change the size of the height to 8.25 and go OK. So now I have a 4.25 by 8.25 page that I can go ahead and print out for my Life Crafted album. The other thing I do want to do though, and I'm going to do this to all of the cards, is if I zoom in here, you can see that these PNG files, they're not black and white. They're I guess a kind of neutral color palette, a sort of warm, I guess warm gray / beiges, which is not really my thing at all. So I am going to go to the adjustment palette. I'm just going to grab the hue saturation tool, and I'm going to remove the saturation. It's going to make it black and white basically, and not that kind of weird beige color. And then I am going to grab my levels tool, and I'm just going to bring up the black slider so it's a little bit darker. I would like these to be more kind of black, black and grey, rather than sort of grey and beige. So I'm going to do that to all of my cards here. But the easy way that I can do that to make sure that they're all the same is I'm going to grab both of these adjustment layers. I'm going to right click them and I'm going to duplicate them. And then I want to tell Photoshop which file to apply them to, and I'm going to end up having to apply these to all of them. But if I pop them on the year ahead prompt here, when I go over to this PNG file, you can see it is now black rather than beige as well. Of course, the other thing you can do is if you don't want black and white, if you want it to be colored, you could always use an adjustment layer to change the type of color it is. So it could be sort of more green or more blue. There's lots of things you can do, but what I want to do is make these gray and black rather than beige. This one I do need to adjust the size as well, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag it out over the whole piece. And then I want to go to my canvas size and do the same thing. From the top, I want it to be 8.25. Obviously, these words are not sort of even now, so I'm going to go back to my background layer, and I'm going to use the marquee tool and just grab each one of these. And then when I go back to my arrow tool, I can cut this out. I'm just holding down the shift key, otherwise it wiggles around. If you hold down the shift key, it's always going to stay aligned where it should be. And I'm really just going to eyeball these. Once I deselect that, I can use my marquee tool again and grab this one and just move this down a little bit. And the last one. Now, these aren't perfect. I'm just, like I said, I'm just eyeballing it. So if you want to be more precise, you could measure it out and add guidelines and be all perfect. All I want is something that's a little bit more even down my traveler's notebook sized page, so that I can then go ahead and print that out like I will with all of my 3x4 cards as well. Now I'm going to add a little folder into the back of here, because I did do a little bit of a brainstorm on my words at the end of last year, and like last year's album, I do want to copy that into my album. So I'm going to make a folder with this pattern paper. This is from Pink Paisley. It's a much older one, but I've chosen this because it is brightly colored on one side and I love it, but the inside is kind of a lot more subtle and is going to allow me to write on there. So one thing I do want to do is, I've used 4 cards and I could definitely have put them into one page protector. I have split them into 2 because I want to add a little bit more color in here. So I'm going to add some sequins I just made a little sequin mix sort of to match this pattern paper. I'm going to pop some in the top and bottom pockets here and then just stitch them shut with my sewing machine. So I've gone ahead and stitched those shut. My sewing machine was threaded with black thread, so I've just embraced it and stitched it with black thread. There's black in this pattern, so it all kind of ties together. And I'm just going to really quickly finish off the rest of the pages in here. So the first thing I want to do is create my little folder. I have trimmed my pattern paper down to 8¼ inches high by 9 inches wide, and I'm going to score it at 5 inches. So then when I fold that flap over, it's going to give me that fold over, that folder effect, and I can go ahead and add my brainstorm into there later on. So the last thing that I have to do is I want to cover up the back of that photo. So I'm trimming my pattern paper down to 5 inches. I've got this lovely sort of yellow floral. It goes nicely with my folder. However, I will say it wasn't the best choice because it's got this black and white stripe in the back and you can kind of see it through the photo. Luckily I've got that clear acetate piece on top of my photo, so it all kind of blends together in the end, but next time I'll pay more attention to that when I'm picking out patterns. So I've trimmed that down so it's the same size as my photo, and I'm going to adhere that onto the back with some double-sided tape. You can see I've moved the tape from the sort of right-hand edge in a little bit because I don't want to have to hole punch through double-sided tape. I just feel like it ruins your hole punch a little bit. So I'm going to move the tape in and it won't have to punch through the adhesive. So you can see there, you can see the black and white lines. Bit of a fail. Again, not letting perfection stop me on this one. What I did do was go and grab that define card, the definition one, and I just stitched around that with my sewing machine as well. In an album like this, I do still like things to kind of tie together, and so this way it makes a little bit more sense having those pockets stitched shut if there is stitching on here too, but I didn't stitch it to the actual paper because I needed to know where to put it after the holes were punched. So I have adhered the paper first. Now I'm going to adhere my little card that has the stitching, and it looks just like I've sewn it onto my page. So always a handy little trick, that one. And apart from hole punching, and I do not have a link for this 6-hole punch. I'm sorry, I bought it years ago. It cost me $1 billion. It is handy, but you can get the exact same effect with a single hole punch, I promise. And I'm just going to pop that all in. And so my general prompt is done. Once again, all of that procrastination, and it really didn't take that long. So I've got my little clear acetate overlay. Always have a selfie in here. I've got my definition, my reason why, a little sequin pocket for a bit of extra sparkle. Couldn't hurt, could it? Let go, invite, keep going, the year ahead, intentions, and at some point I will pop in my my brainstorm. I'll copy that in there, and I'll probably add a clip of some kind to keep this shut. It worked really nicely last year. I don't think it's going to be this one because it doesn't go great with the yellow, but you get the gist. You'll see it next month. Hey, thank you for watching today, guys. I would love to know where you're at or what you're doing with your one little word journey this year. If you do one at all, if you're following the class, if you're not, please leave me a comment. I always love hearing from you, especially if there's any way that I can help you on your journey this year. So I will see you again really soon. Bye, guys.